This video is sponsored by Warby Parker. The San Antonio Riverwalk is a 15-mile narrow river channel flanked by walking paths. In the downtown core, restaurants and shops line the river and the paths are crowded and lively. The entire Riverwalk is about 14 feet below street level, so pedestrians never have to cross a street or interact with cars at all. The river is only about 30 feet wide in most places, so it's like a narrow street but without the noisy cars. Trees provide shade and complete the sense of enclosure. This place is well known among city planners and urban designers, and this was my first opportunity to visit. And well, it lives up to the hype. I'm definitely not the only one sold on its charms. The Riverwalk is the most visited, highest rated, and most popular tourist attraction in Texas. I think it's kind of amusing that a state known for its highways, big trucks, and oil would have walkable urbanism as its #1 attraction. But hey, good for Texas. The Riverwalk is absolutely an asset to the state and something to be proud of. In this video, we'll dissect the Riverwalk to figure out what makes it such a successful space from an urban design standpoint. Then we'll discuss whether or not other cities can borrow the concept and implement their own Riverwalks. Let's get into it after the bike bell. What makes the Riverwalk so great? Well, it's fundamentally just a good urban space. There are a few ways to define good urban space, but in this case, I think the 4 characteristics of placemaking identified for the Project for Public Spaces is a pretty good rubric. The first one is access and linkages. This one's an easy win for the Riverwalk. It's 15 miles of pedestrian walkways, with the heart of it a downtown loop and extension that connects to a shopping mall and convention center. The Riverwalk is only 1 block away from the Alamo through the lobby of the Hyatt Regency. This makes it not just an attraction, but a way to get to other attractions. That definitely helps the Riverwalk pad its visitor numbers, but it also means it's more than just a tourist attraction, but a piece of San Antonio's infrastructure. One of the main tenets of access and linkages is accessibility. And here's one place where I might have to dock points from the Riverwalk. There are elevators and ramps for people who need them, but several of the absolutely charming bridges over the river are stairs only. And the paths can get quite narrow in places, which can make it hard for someone in a wheelchair to get through. But as far as I could tell, the Riverwalk is still traversable by everyone, though they may miss out on the bridge selfies. The second characteristic of a good urban space is uses and activities. Are there things to do? The answer is another resounding yes for the Riverwalk. There are a great many restaurants, bars, clubs, and shops to keep people busy all day and even into the evening. Evening seems to be where the Riverwalk really shines, as it hosts a busy nightlife. And the Riverwalk allows these businesses to spill out onto the sidewalks, so even when you're just taking a stroll, you kind of feel like you're still in the action. It creates a busy and vibrant public realm that makes you want to keep walking and see what's around the corner. Our third characteristic is comfort and image. The Project for Public Spaces uses adjectives like safe, green, walkable, sittable, attractive, and historic to describe comfort and image. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but the Riverwalk again hits the mark here. It's almost like it's one of the most well-respected and famous public spaces in the US. When you're walking along the river, you're below street level. It doesn't feel like you're in some tunnel or ditch though. It's very pleasant and you're safe from traffic. The large numbers of people and pedestrian scale lighting keeps it from feeling too sketchy, at least when I was there. It's also surprisingly green for an urban space below street level. Many large trees provide shade and a sense of enclosure, further adding to its charm. The parts of the Riverwalk away from downtown are also well landscaped and have a more park-like feel. Walkable is a no-brainer. Walk is in the title and it's no clickbait. I literally walked for hours and didn't get bored. I did get a little tired and I needed a few breaks. Luckily, there are places to sit, both at restaurants and public benches. This is especially critical for older pedestrians and those with physical disabilities, but it's also a nice amenity for a 30-something who forgot how much energy humidity takes from you. Attractive is somewhat subjective, though I think you'd have to be pretty picky to find the Riverwalk unattractive. Some of the businesses along the edge could be considered touristy or tacky, but the overall space has charm to spare. Attractiveness seems like a superficial thing, but it's actually critically important for spaces like this. You are far more likely to walk longer and enjoy it more in an attractive space. Compare the Riverwalk to this sidewalk. Walking 10 minutes in a place like this will feel like an hour, while walking an hour on the Riverwalk can feel like 10 minutes. Finally, we have historic. The Riverwalk itself is historic as the Works Progress Administration built the first segments in 1939. Many older buildings eventually opened up restaurants and shops in their basements at the level of the Riverwalk. There are newer buildings as well, particularly hotels, but the Riverwalk definitely echoes the generally historic feel of central San Antonio. The last major characteristic of a successful urban space is sociability. This relates to elements like street life and evening use, which the Riverwalk certainly has. But sociability also means a focal point for the local community. I'm not sure if it is. San Antonio residents, let me know in the comments if locals gather here. It's certainly a tourist hotspot, but I couldn't help but wish that some of those tourist barges that are constantly passing through the space were public transportation instead, providing some additional transit to the major destinations linked by the Riverwalk. More local serving businesses would help too. Thus far, I've been making the case that the Riverwalk is an outstanding public space, perhaps an outlier, at least in the American context. But could other cities do the same thing? Or is San Antonio's situation unique? Well, first of all, there are other cities that have had attractive waterfront promenades, canals, and rivers well before San Antonio. San Antonio didn't invent this concept. I mean, Venice and Amsterdam are synonymous with this type of canal urbanism. And that does suggest that other cities could do it too. And in fact, they have. The Bricktown Canal, built in 1999, has been a nice addition to downtown Oklahoma City. Visitors can access shops, dining, bars, mini golf, and ye olde spaghetti factory. A quick Google Street View tour of Oklahoma City suggests that its downtown is pretty typically American. Lots of parking lots, wide streets, and boring buildings. No offense to Oklahoma City residents. You aren't the only city like this, and at least you have the Bricktown Canal, which looks like a pleasant antidote to the uninspired urban design surrounding it. You might be thinking to yourself, well, that's great, but my city doesn't have a river or canal that it could turn into a vibrant pedestrian paradise. The good news is, neither did Oklahoma City. The Bricktown Canal was built from scratch in 1999. The Santa Lucia Riverwalk in Monterrey, Mexico, a fine example of the genre, is also artificial. I want to be clear that I'm not saying that every city needs a riverwalk like San Antonio, but the Riverwalk isn't a unique case either, and it's an idea that could work elsewhere given the right circumstances. I'd love to see one in a northern US city that freezes in the winter. In the summer, you have a lively atmosphere like San Antonio, and in the winter you can skate through the city, like the Ottawa, Ontario Skateway. The Riverwalk is an excellent piece of pedestrian infrastructure that other cities can learn from. Anyone can see that. If you can't see that, maybe you need glasses. And there's no better place to get them than Warby Parker. I'm excited to have them as a sponsor because I've been a happy customer for years. You might already know that they have great frames, but they also have sunglasses, eye exams, and contact lenses too. Whenever I need new glasses, I use their excellent home try-on program. You take a quiz, select 5 frames from their extensive collection, and get them to try on at home. You have 5 days to try them before sending them back. The best thing is that there's no obligation to buy them, no pressure. This time I wanted to check out some of their new frames as well as some sunglasses. I live in California where it's sunny year-round, so these are must-have accessories. All the frames on Warby Parker are super trendy, so it's hard to go wrong. They even have glasses for every head size, from extra narrow to extra wide. I think the hardest part is figuring out which frames I like best. I think I'm going with these for now. Frames with prescription lenses start at only $95, so getting another pair later won't break the bank. And if you have FSA or HSA funds, don't let them go to waste. You can use them on Warby Parker products. To try 5 pairs of glasses at home for free, visit warbyparker.com/citybeautiful or click on the link in the description.